Therapy versus coaching. Do you really know the difference? So in this video, I'm going to demonstrate, because it's no good telling you, I'd like to show you. I'm going to show you a therapy approach, and then I'm going to show you a coaching approach. And then I'm going to really distinguish for you. I'm going to draw a line, and the line is on the one side, and let's pick a side now, coaching, and the other side is therapy. And I'm going to show you where that sweet spot is so that you don't overcompensate and you don't head into so far into the coaching territory that your coaching loses heart and soul, and so that you don't head so far into therapy mode that you fail or are not yet competent, that you breach ICF ethics and even carry legal liability risk as a coach. And I've helped so many natural coaches over the years to achieve ACC, PCC, and MCC that I've distilled everything that I've learned about the coaching versus therapy. Coaching versus therapy into this video so that you can walk away from this video going, okay, I get it now. Cassie, what would you like to talk about today as we start our session?
I think what's really on my mind is just how I never seem to have a moment to breathe. I feel like I'm constantly juggling the kids, and then I'm trying to support my husband with his business. I guess what I really want to talk about is how I can find some space for myself in all of this, because right now it feels like there's just no room for me.
Help me to understand that feeling of not having space for yourself.
Well, it's a bit like I'm always on call, you know? I wake up and from the moment I'm up, it's like I'm managing the kids' schedules. Then I'm helping my husband figure out things for his business. And by the time I even think about myself, the day is gone. It's just this feeling that there's no corner of the day that's actually mine, and that's kind of draining.
I understand, and I'm hearing that you are feeling that draining feeling. How long has that draining feeling been there for you?
I'd say it's been building up for quite a while. It's not like it just appeared overnight. I think ever since my husband started working from home and trying to get his business off the ground, it's like the load just got heavier. So I guess it's been several months at least that I've really been feeling this way.
That's quite a few months that you've been carrying this on your own. If you had to look back at your past, even your childhood, where has this feeling of just doing it all on your own played out, perhaps even way back when?
I guess I can see some echoes of it from when I was younger. I was the oldest sibling, so I often had to take care of my younger brothers and sisters. I suppose I got used to being the one who just handled things.
And why do you think you endlessly have to handle things?
Well, I guess it's just something I've kind of taken on over time. It feels like if I don't do it, then who will? And maybe there's a bit of a habit there from the past of just stepping in and making sure everything's okay. So I think it's partly just a pattern that I've fallen into, and it's hard to break out of it.
Did you pick up at least some of the tone of counseling and therapy? Did you see some of the major themes? Let me show you what I was intentionally trying to demonstrate. Now, obviously, just as a side note, having worked with many therapists, many amazing counselors, from social workers to professional psychologists and psychiatrists, having trained many of them in actual coaching competencies, I'm aware that that blurry line between some of the skills that a counselor or coach uses are similar. So I am exaggerating the differences here. And yes, there is some alliteration so that hopefully this is memorable. When we head deeply into the therapeutic approach as opposed to a coaching approach, and a lot of therapists lean into some natural coaching, we are intentionally exploring, we are asking questions that evoke more unpacking of the pain, the problem, and or the past. We are not focusing on the present, the future, and the possibilities. What you're going to see is a coaching approach. Now, touching on feelings, pulling resources from the past is all perfectly fine. But did you hear how I was digging into childhood? I was digging into old habits. I was staying with the client's story, and I was asking the kinds of questions that kept her there. In that short, brief extract, we didn't make any progress. We didn't lean forward with the same clients and the same situation. I'm now going to lean into a coaching approach. Listen for how the questions are going to be designed to gently move into the future, into the present. Instead of pain, we're looking at solutions. But at the same time, I want you to notice that we still hold space. We still want depth. We still are willing to explore. We're not ignoring inner obstacles. We're not missing or dismissing the context. And if the client puts things onto the table about the past or their story, we don't shut them down. We just gently work with it. And we certainly want to respect whatever the client is sharing. This is a true partnership. So let's see what I can manage with all the ChatGPT AI simulation client.
What I'd really like to talk about is just how overwhelmed I've been feeling lately. You know, with 3 kids and my husband starting his home business, feels like I'm constantly putting everyone else first, and there's just no space for me. So I really want to explore how I can carve out a little bit of time for myself in all of this.
That does sound tough, Cassie, having no space for you, and you want to carve out time for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it really is tough. I just feel like I'm running on empty, and I really do want to figure out how to create even a little bit of space that's just for me. So yeah, that's really what I'd like to explore.
So Cassie, if I invite you for a moment to imagine what a day in the future might look like, where you have carved out even a little space for yourself, what would that feel like?
I think if I imagine it, it would feel like a little breath of relief in my day. Maybe it's just having a quiet half hour in the morning or a little time to do something I enjoy without interruptions. It would just feel like I have a moment to recharge, and I think that would make a big difference.
So even a moment to recharge is going to make a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just having that tiny bit of space for myself would really help me feel more balanced and less like I'm always running on empty. Even just picturing it makes me feel a little more hopeful.
So then I invite you to picture it. Dive into that picture. Let's bring in all your senses if you'd like to, and imagine that that has happened. You've taken those moments to recharge. You've balanced your day. What would be significantly different for you in the felt sense of who you are?
Well, if I really imagine that, I think I'd just feel more like myself again. You know, I'd feel a little more grounded, more present, and just less weighed down. I think I'd show up for my family in a more positive way because I wouldn't be running on empty. And I think I'd just feel a bit more whole and like I have some of my own identity back.
There's a couple of things there. There's the feeling like yourself. There's the showing up fully for your family. There's even the word whole. Which of those words is really landing most significantly for you?
I think the word whole really stands out to me. It just feels like that's what I've been missing, feeling whole, like I'm not just a collection of tasks for everyone else. So yeah, that word really hits home for me.
What does whole actually mean for you?
For me, I think whole means feeling like I'm a person in my own right, not just someone who's always giving pieces of myself away. It's like having all the parts of me together, my needs, my joys, my own identity. So I'm not just running on empty. It means feeling like I'm complete and that I matter too.
I'm going to repeat that last piece back to you, and I'd like you to just take your time and tell me how it lands in your body. I'm a person in my own right.
Hearing that back actually feels really powerful. It's like a little wave of relief in my chest. I can almost feel my shoulders loosening a bit just hearing those words. It really does land in a way that makes me realize how much I've been missing that feeling of being whole and being my own person.
If 10 out of 10 means that being your own person and being whole is really super, super important, and 0 out of 10 means that it really isn't a priority for you, how would you rate this?
I'd say it's probably a solid 9 or even 10 out of 10. It feels that important to me because it really is about having my own sense of self and well-being. So yeah, it's definitely right up there in terms of how important it feels to me.
It's right up there. And just suppose that you were able to carve out some more time, create this balance, and be more of your own person. How would your family actually benefit from this?
I'd probably be more present and patient with them. Instead of feeling constantly drained, I'd have more energy to give them in a positive way. I think it would just create a better atmosphere for all of us, and they'd probably see a happier and calmer version of me, which I think would be really good for everyone.
So this is not just for you, this is also for them.
Yeah, exactly. It's a win-win, really.
So to take a step in the direction of making this a win-win today, with the time that we have in our session, what would you like to leave with at the end of our time that would be extremely valuable?
I think what would really help is just to walk away with 1 or 2 really practical steps I can try out, something small but concrete that I can do to start making that space for myself. If I can leave here with just a couple of ideas that feel doable, I think that would be really valuable for me.
1 or 2 practical steps that feel doable. Is that what you'd like from today?
Yeah, exactly. Just a couple of simple, realistic steps that I can actually put into practice that would make me feel like I'm moving in the right direction.
And what could get in the way of you actually living this reality?
Well, I guess one thing that could get in the way is just falling back into old habits of putting everyone else first. It's easy to slip back into the routine of taking care of everyone else's needs before my own. But I know it's important, so I just need to be mindful of those things.
So your way of dealing with that is a mindful approach. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I think being mindful and just noticing when I'm slipping back into those habits is going to be key. I can catch myself in those moments and remind myself of why this is important. I think that'll help me stay on track.
Why is this important?
It's important because it's really about me being able to show up as the best version of myself, both for me and for my family. If I'm not taking care of my own needs and finding that wholeness, then I'm not really able to give my best to anyone else.
And when you haven't showed up as your best self, what's been in the way?
I think what's really been in the way is just that constant cycle of putting everyone else first and feeling like I don't have permission to take time for myself. It's like I get so caught up in all the responsibilities that I forget I'm allowed to have needs too.
This might sound like a bit of a crazy question, and let me know where you want to go with this, but let's try it out. I'm going to put this on the table. Just suppose this part of you that puts everyone else first, that's waiting for permission, just suppose this part of you was actually valid and there for a real reason that's actually good. What could that possibly be?
I guess if I consider that, maybe that part of me is really just trying to care for the people I love. It's like a protective instinct, wanting to make sure everyone else is okay, because it comes from a place of love. It's just about also recognizing that I need to care for myself too.
And when you recognize that this is coming from care, it's coming from protective love, what changes? What's your relationship with that old habit like, with this in mind?
I think it definitely softens how I see that old habit. Instead of feeling frustrated or guilty about it, I can actually have a bit more compassion for myself. I can see that it comes from a good place and that it's just about finding a healthier balance. It makes it easier to work with that habit rather than fighting against it.
It softens it. There's more compassion. You don't have to fight against it. So if you imagine one of those moments of it's a busy day and your habit is alive again and you're just about to put everyone else first, how can you remind yourself to care and love both you and them?
I think in that moment, I could just pause and take a breath and remind myself that caring for myself is also an act of love for them. And just that little bit of self-talk can help me remember that it's not selfish, it's actually a form of mutual care.
It's a form of mutual care. How significant is that insight for you right now?
It's actually pretty significant. I mean, it feels like a bit of a turning point to realize that taking care of myself isn't just about me. It's also about creating a healthier environment for everyone around me.
Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm really open to your input here. But it sounds like your tone has changed. There's almost the sense that this insight, this mutual care approach is having an effect on you that is almost tangible.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. It does feel like something has shifted. I think just realizing that it's not just about me being selfish, but actually a way of caring for everyone, it does kind of lighten things up for me. So yeah.
I'm wondering about the word selfish, and I'm wondering about now that you realize that this is actually an act of care and mutual care, how could you possibly reframe the word selfish?
I think now I could reframe selfish into something more like self-care or self-honoring. Instead of seeing it as a negative, I can see it as a positive and necessary act that actually helps me and those around me.
So, which of those two words really is the one that works for you, self-care or self-honoring?
I think self-honoring really resonates with me. It feels like it captures that sense of respecting my own needs and worth. So yeah, I think that's the one I'd go with.
And I would like to take a moment to honor you for the courage that it has taken to just pivot in this way and to discover this strength that you have inside of you, the ability to honor yourself.
Thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. It does feel good to acknowledge that this is a kind of strength.
Did you notice that we could still coach with depth? We could still head into some territories. So when the client put on the table the same scenario, the overwhelm, the no space, immediately I leaned into what does the client want? So as coaches, we're not focused on what they don't want. Doesn't mean we're ignoring it. Doesn't mean we're going to just stay all love, light, and rainbows. But we do want to clarify what they do want. I always tell my coaching certification students, think of it like being a waiter in a restaurant. You want to get the order. You want to know what the person wants. It's no good them telling you, I don't want vegetables and I don't want salad. You want to gently, with respect, in partnership, explore and excavate what the client really wants. And what that can look like is long-term goals or that future scenario that they are after. But it also means what is the outcome they want from the actual session. And I think you heard that we went there. I asked what I call contracting questions, and the client wanted some practical steps, some ideas that were doable, and we headed there. But does that mean you only stay with to-do list practical steps? Because a lot of clients will say, I want an action plan, I want solutions, and we write that down and we are going to include that. But we are also listening deeply. We are listening for those inner obstacles. You can also ask coaching questions to elicit the obstacle or to check if one is there. Now, obviously, you're not going to force one. You're not going to make one up. But if you say something like, what could get in the way? And the client mentions, like in this example, old habits, you do want to resolve them, but you want to remember what they're saying. Now, what you also heard me do is actually work with that inner obstacle. And this really is the key to PCC and MCC coaching. For ACC, the ICF don't require the depth and what is called coaching the who as well as the what. The what is the practical, it's the steps, it's the to-do list. So who is the insights, the creativity, the values, and some of those shadows, the inner obstacle work? So I'm hoping you can see that as coaches, even though we're not intentionally digging into the pain, into the problem, and into the past, because that takes us into the territory of therapy, we can still and should hold space for vulnerability. We should unpack some of the obstacles, but you do need tools and, let's say, confident skills and competencies to work with inner obstacles in a way that isn't therapy, but that is transformative. Now, here is the sweet spot that I promised. So if we imagine that coaching is all the way on this side and therapy is all the way on that side, there is an overlapping area that is the sweet spot. And the overlapping area is where there is common ground between some of the skills and competencies that are shared. For example, active listening, non-judgment, really client-centered approaches, lots of common ground there. The care of the client's progress. This hard line in the sand where you would be clearly heading into therapy territory, other than some of the clues I've given you, which is past focused, pain focused, problem focused, as a way just to remember it. The real hard line in the sand is when we head into mental health territory, which is not the territory of the coach. And some alliteration coming your way to help. We don't want to be anywhere near, and it's even a criminal offense in some countries to diagnose mental health illnesses. Not saying, I think you're depressed, I think you're this, that, or the other. So those are big no's. That is clearly off the table. We also aren't equipped to really handle deep dysfunction or mental health disease. And last alliteration, anything that is in the territory of danger. The client is suicidal, there's a danger to themselves or others. Those are all hard lines in the sand. We are not heading into the territory of any of that. We refer out. You should have a trusted list to refer. You should also have phone numbers, hotlines, even hospital admission phone numbers, etc., if that ever shows up for you. Now, just to be clear on the point that I'm making, a lot of coaches are so afraid to hit this line that they tend to go all the way out here into this extreme place, and they miss the sweet spot. So the coaching becomes very dry, very cold, very surface to-do list, because there's a misconception that you can't show up like a human being and just be caring. So you can explore feelings. You can touch into the past, as long as this is all a resource and helpful for the client's progress forward. You can work with inner obstacles. I always call them inner obstacles of all kinds. So you can work with the client putting imposter syndrome, doubt, all those human inner barriers, the fears, the irritations, the concerns. And what you don't want to do is just dismiss, or minimize any of that. Because ironically, when marking at a PCC, MCC level, if you are skipping over all of that, and you are also not able to hold the client's vulnerability, that counts as contra evidence for PCC and MCC. So I hope this is good news. I hope this gives you some comfort that the deep, rich inner work that we love to do as coaches, as professional coaches, is on the table. And now you should be more clear on the difference between therapy and coaching so that you can approach your performance evaluation, your exams with more confidence. Do check out the entire playlist that we have on ICF competencies, on exam and performance evaluation readiness. Another great coaching demonstration is going to show up over here for you to watch next.